Do you bleed?
I sometimes sneeze.
That'll do.
Ooh, kryptonite.
Okay, so what did we think of this movie? Honestly.
Honestly, I thought it was crap.
Oh, ouch.
I honestly can think of no redeeming qualities of this film.
Oh, man.
It is terrible on so many levels.
Okay, look, we can't just rip straight into it.
Yes, we can.
There's got to be some good, right? There had to be some good.
It ended. It was terrible. I think DC are doing a really good job of distinguishing themselves from Marvel in that they're doing the complete opposite of what Marvel is doing. Marvel is doing really good films with well-cast actors telling interesting stories and have built up characters that people care about. DC's doing completely the opposite.
You're right. It was moody, it was depressing, it was dour, it was long, and it was full of stuff that they could have cut half of that stuff out.
The biggest problem for me in the length, and boy, you felt that length, was that they've clearly learned absolutely nothing from Iron Man 2 and Age of Ultron, where the flabbiest parts of it were all this interconnecting tissue where they're trying to foreshadow this and foreshadow that, and people get bored with it and they don't like it and it doesn't work. If you cut out pretty much all the Justice League intro stuff, which they were pounding into there all the time with no connection to anything else, you could have shaved easily half an hour off that film.
I agree. The movie was called Batman v Superman. That's really what it should have been for the most part.
Look, the biggest problem for me was that the whole film was incredibly disjointed. Nothing flowed from scene to scene. It was just, here's another retelling of Batman's origin, which cribs a lot on the visuals that we've just seen in the Nolan trilogy. Here's Superman being involved in something. Here's something else, here's something else, here's something else. Nothing flows together, and you know that they're trying to go, oh, this is going to pay off later on, and it really doesn't in any way which satisfies at all.
People hate what they don't understand. Be their hero, Clark.
Ultimately, I felt no emotions watching this movie. I felt nothing. I felt no joy, no happiness, no laughter, no sadness. Just nothing. I felt hollow. This movie made me feel hollow, and it just bashed me over the head the whole time.
It's an emotional vacuum. Say what you will about a good film or a bad film. If a film can make you feel something, then it's achieved something at least. This one, it was a case of, there's a bunch of stuff that is happening. I don't really care about any of it.
Yeah. I have to say, Zack Snyder's mostly known... I mean, usually his action's quite good. Usually his visuals are quite good. I felt in this one, though, the action in particular, a lot of the time it was really quite jarring and confusing. It was dark, it was hard to tell what was going on. The warehouse fight sequence was probably the best scene in the movie in terms of action. And even then, that was a little more jarring than I first thought it to be, so...
The big problem for me with the action was that you never got a sense of geography. Nothing was ever established. It was just, here's something happening, here's something happening, here's something happening. And there was no sense of understanding where these things are happening, so why this is going to lead to that. And it just comes across as, again, part of the problem with the whole film, in that Zack Snyder seemed to be aping other people's style so much. You could see there were so many little touches and homages. You know, some of the comic book frames, which he's contrived to be able to get that frame
from
for half a second.
Dark Knight Returns.
That particularly. It just feels so redundant and recycled, and there's nothing fresh about it.
You will fly to him, and you will battle him to the death.
Lex Luthor?
Terrible.
Yeah, he kind of was. I mean, he was ridiculous to the point of almost being comedic. It didn't really fit.
You know, I hoped that he'd bring something to it, something that we'd recognise in Lex and appreciate and enjoy watching as a villain. He came off as even more of a cackling maniac than we've seen in any live-action version previously.
The red capes are coming.
And for no real reason either. They didn't really get into why he was doing the things he was doing other than to progress the plot, it seemed.
And that can be said of pretty much all the characters and all their reactions. Bruce Wayne is ultra-conservative, xenophobic almost, to the point of, you know, if there's even 1% chance, then we must take it as a 100% chance that he's going to kill us and we're going to destroy him first.
Yeah, he just wanted revenge for the building getting knocked over back in when the first battle happened.
I can understand that as a motivator, but not to the extent that we saw in this film, where he's completely single-minded and shut off, and you know, it's not the Bruce Wayne that I want to see.
But then again, elements of that Batman I quite liked, and maybe he's not true to the Batman of the comic books. That's for sure. He did kill people.
Did you like the murdering?
He killed.
Did you like
he
all
did
the
kill
murdering?
people, and I was like leaning over to my wife and saying, "He is killing people, right?" And she's like, "Yeah."
He's totally slaughtering people.
Yeah, he's killing people.
He's killing a lot of people.
But
all the people he killed in that movie.
yeah, he killed a lot.
Not even slightly, just murdered.
Yeah, he straight up murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, why not? Anything goes in this movie, right?
Sure, why not?
But I kind of liked Ben Affleck playing him. To be honest, I liked him. I thought he was the best part of that movie.
That's not saying much.
Maybe it's the Gotham City in me, and we just have a bad history with freaks dressed like clowns.
I liked the armored Batman. I thought that looked really good.
I mean, that certainly harkens back to Frank Miller's The Dark Knight in terms of sort of establishing the idea that Batman does need a power armor to be able to fight Superman, and they did kind of play it in terms of, even with the power armor, he still gets his ass kicked until he does the kryptonite gas in his face, which, you know, that wasn't bad, but even just that first initial part of that fight was just like, there wasn't dramatic tension there.
No, there wasn't really, and I felt a lot of it felt a bit fake. It felt like they had a CGI Batman versus the Superman.
For a movie that was pushed back from 2015 to 2016 so the creators could better realise their vision, some of those effects looked really, really rushed and terrible.
She with you?
I thought she was with you.
Well, let's talk about Wonder Woman. She was
In it?
and
Briefly?
she looked like Xena, and she'd been around since 1916 or something, and she had a Latino accent, and she had a sword and a shield, and
I thought it was Greek or
something. I thought it was, anyway, she'd been
She
living.
has an accent.
The data you copied is military-grade encryption.
Yeah, she came along and she kicked ass, and
One of the interesting things with the introduction of Wonder Woman is that she just suddenly sort of appears. There's no mention of what her name is. She just sort of, you know, passes through a few scenes and that sort of thing. There's no introduction, hey, this is going to be Wonder Woman in the end, which kind of makes sense because you wouldn't just say, I'm Batman, this is Superman, what are you going to be? I Wonder Woman.
Oh, I don't think you've ever known a woman like me.
The costume design was really good.
well, was it?
No.
It was kind of lacking compared to what Wonder Woman should look like.
It's another Xena knockoff. It's exactly the same thing fans have been drawing as what Wonder Woman's costume should be since Xena was on television and everyone was wanting Lucy Lawless to play her.
I thought she was with you.
Obviously, the writers of this movie and the director had been paying attention to some of the internet traffic regarding Man of Steel in terms of dealing with all of the casualties from the destruction porn that happened at the end of Man of Steel.
And some of that felt so on the nose that you just felt like, oh, they've shoved this in here because there was such a hue and cry on...
And even at the end, they they had their final fight on some deserted island or
Stryker's
something.
Island. It's deserted.
Yeah, there's no casualties.
After Superman tries to take him to the moon in the first place.
God.
And in the meantime, look how much more disaster porn that there was there.
I know.
Doomsday killed just as many, if not more, people in this fight. You know, Zod must have the record for killing people in DC movies because he's now destroyed Metropolis basically twice.
There's going to be people out there who like this movie.
They're wrong.
Okay, but they're entitled to like this movie.
They're still wrong.
Yes, they're wrong, but they're entitled to like it. When you look at it on paper, it kind of works. You know, you got Batman in there, you got Superman, you got Wonder Woman, you got Lex Luthor, you've got Doomsday, you've got lots of CGI, you've got laser eyes and Batmobile chases and guns and bad guys and gadgets and stuff. Like, why didn't it work?
There's so many reasons.
And we just discussed all
Pretty
of them.
much.
It's like 15 board members sat around. Somebody said, we gotta have Wonder Woman. We gotta have Wonder Woman.
Let's go with some more Batman in there.
Lex Luthor. That's Superman.
yeah, I got Doomsday.
Doomsday. I love that. Kids love Doomsday.
They love Doomsday. And let's rip off that ending from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and put it right on the end of this movie.
That's a great idea. Gotta have the Batmobile and the Batwing too. Don't forget the Batwing.
Let's kill lots of civilians.
The hell with them.
You're gonna go to war.
brought the war to us.
So to wrap it up, I personally feel that I didn't see any of the DC characters that I recognise in this film. They weren't interesting, they weren't fun to watch. I really don't know what they can do to turn this cinematic universe around to make me want to go see Justice League.
I want to really come to this movie's defense a little bit more, because I feel like there are going to be people out there who enjoy this movie.
But you know in your heart that you can't in good conscience defend this movie.
There's got to be something I can defend. Man, it's Superman and Batman.
The fact that you have to reach so hard to try to find something shows that there isn't.
You're right. I've been foolish. I've been blind.
Well, my work here is done. Away!